This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this Wednesday, April 1st, 2026 meeting of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners. I'd like to note for the record that all 5 commissioners are present in person this evening. If you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to note that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted on the Township website for public access. This time, I'd like to have our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, please review the public virtual meeting rules.
Thank you. The public virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the Board of Commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you will have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Also, all of the meeting materials for this evening's meeting were posted on the Township website on Friday, March 27th. At the end of the day.
Thank you, Tom. I'd also like to announce that the board did meet in executive session prior to this evening's April 1st meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. Moving on to agenda item 4, presentations. We have 4 presentations this evening. The first, 4A, we have a Distinguished Service Award presentation to Chief Barry Search of the Woodlawn Fire Department for 50 years of service. I do have a proclamation from the township which I will read and then open it up to my fellow board members. And then at the end, we'd like to take a picture with you, Chief. This is a Distinguished Service Award to Chief Barry Search for 50 years of service to South Whitehall Township. The South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners and citizens of South Whitehall Township would like to take this time to recognize you, Chief Barry Search, for 50 years of volunteer service from 1976 to the present. In 1979, you became assistant chief and faithfully served in that role until 2021, when you assumed the position of chief of the Woodlawn Fire Department. Additionally, throughout your tenure as assistant chief, there were many times you stepped in and served as acting chief of the Woodlawn Fire Department as well. South Whitehall Township applauds your many accomplishments, which are too numerous to count, but thanks you for your extraordinary dedication and sacrifice over the years on behalf of South Whitehall Township, the surrounding communities of Lehigh County, and beyond. We proudly honor you, Chief Barry Search, and are truly grateful for your outstanding and continued service to this great community. Congratulations on a job well done. Congratulations, sir. If the board wouldn't mind stepping down for a minute, we're going to take a picture with the chief.
Come.
Thank you. All right. Next, agenda item 4B. We have a badge pinning ceremony for Officer Carlos Souza, and I'd like to ask Captain Steve Brown to please present.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Carlos, you want to come on up here to the podium, please? Go ahead. You can turn around and face the crowd. Yeah. This is your moment, so. I'd like to please join us in welcoming Carlos Souza to the department. Our Officer Souza was hired on November 3rd, 2025, and was a member of the Temple University Police Academy's Class 25-02. He graduated on March 10th, 2026, after successfully meeting the requirements of the Partial Academy pursuant to MOPEC Act 165. A 2009 graduate of Emmaus High School in the East Penn School District, Carlos joined the Army National Guard in 2019, where he continues to proudly serve. Prior to joining our department, he served for 2 years as a certified police officer with the Newcastle County Police Department in Delaware. Officer Souza was officially sworn in on March 19th, 2026, and has begun phase 1 of our field training program. I believe this evening his fiance will be pinning him. You want to come forward, please?
I'll give it a minute if any of our guests would like to leave before we proceed with the rest of the agenda. Yep. Yeah. All right, moving on to agenda item 4C, we have our February 2026 financial review year-to-date report, and I'd like to ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you, everyone. So right now, it's still early on in the fiscal year, so this is the numbers that were presented to you as of February, so we're well under budget at this point, as we would expect to be, of course, right, for both revenue and expenditure. But the important thing to note is that we're trending where we need to be for all of our individual general ledger items. So unless there's any questions, you know, again, it's so early in the time period, but there's no alarming trends as we sit here today, thanks to the good work of all of our department heads. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And I would note that both our township budget, our financial reviews, as well as our township audits are all posted on the township website for public access. It is often the best way for members of the community to learn about what it is the township does and how we allocate public dollars for a variety of initiatives and projects. Moving on to agenda item 4D, we have the annual report for the Planning Commission for 2025. And I'd like to ask our Director of Planning, Dave Manhart, to please present this item.
So this is the 2025 annual report of the Planning Commission. It's really just an accounting of all the projects that they saw for the year. Essentially, it was 6 major plans, 0 minor plans, a street vacation, and 2 ordinances. I think the interesting piece is on page 15. There's a summary table that kind of shows how projects go through the process. And you can see that projects appear multiple times on multiple meetings. If there's no detailed questions, that's essentially the presentation.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 5, courtesy of the floor. This is the first of 2 opportunities this evening for members of the public to comment on non-agenda items. When I call on you, if you have a comment, please approach the podium, make sure the microphone is on, give your name and address, and you may begin your 5 minutes. Are there any members here tonight who wish to address the board? Yes, ma'am. And just your name and address again.
Hello again. My name is Alice Lenthy, 4126 Shoemaker Place. Before I start my comment, I just want to say that we have previously been here, obviously, and submitted multiple comments concerning noise, air pollution, emergency generators, excessive use of power, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We understand these comments will be considered as part of the official record for Project Atlas, so we will not repeat them. We appreciate the attention of the commissioners and the township staff to our concerns. I just want to make that clear. Okay. I have some concerns about the economic study that was part of the data center submission for preliminary planning purposes. It includes the statement, and I'm going to do air quotes here, edge data center facilities are recognized as among the most environmentally conscious in the industry. Edge data centers are at the forefront of building technology to make their facilities more energy efficient and less water resource intensive than the typical data center, end quote. This is completely unsubstantiated. This is just the comment of the person writing the report. Next point, data center jobs are characterized as high paying. Actually, the cited $65,000 to $75,000 per year is 12 to 22% below the median Lehigh Valley pay of $84,000. There are repeated references to revenue during construction, revenue to the township. How much of the materials purchase will happen locally? There is no commitment for local materials purchase. How many of the construction workers will be hired locally versus brought in from other parts of the country? There is no commitment to local hiring. And for this kind of work, expertise is frequently brought in from other places. During construction and data center operation, expenditures on employee benefits should not be considered as contributing to the local economy, as that spend will not happen locally. And that is considered as local income in the report. There is no commitment to preservation of open space along the Jordan Creek. Just and I'm going to put this in quotes, belief that now is the appropriate time to finalize discussions with the township regarding the possible donation. And how valuable is open space next to a data center that is noisy and creating dangerous emissions? The study claims, quote, significant economic impact on the community through increasing home values. It does not consider the negative impact on home values with a mega data center adjacent to the high school. And Edge Data Centers has expressed interest in partnering with Parkland School District to offer AI learning opportunities. Is Parkland School District interested in this? Have they talked to Parkland School District? There's no commitment here. There's just a lot of talk. This study is just an aggregation of a lot of big unsubstantiated numbers and claims. It needs to be completely redone at the expense of the applicant by an unbiased third-party economic consultant. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lenthy. The board appreciates your comments. Yes, Ms. Thomas.
Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to express my concerns.
Just your address again for the record.
Oh, sorry. Julie Thomasis, 4127 Shoemaker Place, South Whitehall. I'd like to express my concerns about the numerous deficiencies and omissions in the plans and reports that have been submitted as part of the Project Atlas land development package. I'll give you some examples. The pre-construction noise study is incomplete. It does not follow the basic guidelines set out in the PERT ordinance and simply chooses to ignore key sources of noise, stating they will be minimal. Sedimentation and erosion control planning is completely inadequate for a 400+ acre site, and the information provided is minimal at best and laughable in its lack of specificity. The preliminary stormwater management plan does not meet the minimum requirements of South Whitehall Township, nor the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. The required sewage disposal system report was not submitted as part of the package because soil testing had not yet been completed. Rather than obtaining the required data in a timely way, the applicant has requested a waiver from this key requirement when planning on-site sewage disposal. The plans call for water-based sprinkler systems for fire suppression. This does not meet the National Fire Protection Association recommendation for IT spaces and is a ludicrous idea for buildings filled with computers. The economic assessment includes multiple references to local service tax and earned income tax, which are not, to my knowledge, collected in this township. If the planning process is this sloppy and uninformed, what can we expect during construction and operation of the largest data center in the United States? And how can the residents of South Whitehall Township feel comfortable that our community will be protected? The other thing I want to mention is the PERT ordinance requires multiple studies to be completed and submitted by the data center applicant. These include noise assessment, economic assessment, and environmental impact assessment. So far, the applicant has submitted studies completed by consultants they have hired, and not surprisingly, these studies assert that the planned data center will have little or no impact on the environment or the community and will provide a multitude of economic and educational benefits. Why? Because the applicant is paying the people completing these studies. My question is, are these studies truly independent and objective, or are they self-serving to the applicant? One way to assure that all required studies are truly independent and objective is to require the applicant, and I think I mentioned this before, to escrow funds with South Whitehall Township to cover the cost of the studies. South Whitehall could then hire its own consultants to complete the studies in an objective way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Yes, Mr. Presky. And your name and address then, just for the record.
Daniel Presky, 4127 Shoemaker Place. I have two items that I want to mention. The first one is not about the data center per se. It has to do with the use of the land generally. And want to know whether the township has explored the possibility of the current landowners donating all or part of this parcel as preserved open space. Presumably, this would result in a significant tax benefit to them, as well as contributing to the character of South Whitehall Township. In November 2025, voters approved a 0.1% tax increase to be used for the preservation of open space. Has the township explored the possibility of purchasing this piece of land? Isn't this exactly what the intent of the tax increase was? I understand that the increase will generate almost $1 million per year, and that amount may not be enough to purchase all 400 acres at one time. But is there some kind of long-term purchase arrangement or donate purchase arrangement that could be considered? If the tax revenue will not be used to preserve this land, we'd like to know, how will it be used? Okay, my next comment is about the PERT required environmental impact statement and the response of the applicant, Atlas or CDE. And it doesn't say much about the seriousness of the environmental impact surrounding this project. They use an economics consultant to prepare an environmental impact statement. It's merely an appendix to this, it's merely an appendix to the economic assessment. Nothing is quantified. All statements can be characterized as, we looked at this and we don't think there will be an impact or a problem. They say it is believed that existing emergency services and fire protection infrastructure is adequate. Well, what if it's not? What if there is a fire at Parkland High School? Will changes be made to the fire protection infrastructure, limit firefighting capacity at the school? Will changes? There is no assessment of the impacts of the sand mound sewage disposal system. It assumes solid waste will be managed through the township contractor. Is this true? Is it accurate? There is no quantification of the air emissions or the impact on local air quality. That's a big one. We already know we're living in a region of very poor air quality. And the studies that we know about, that we have done on data centers, we know that it's going to be adversely affecting, additional adverse affecting of the air, our air quality. There is minimal discussion of the impact on local groundwater with nothing quantified. I saw in this morning's paper about how the wells in our area are well below normal, even though we've had a reasonable amount of rain. Part of that, I guess, is the drought, but part of it is possibly the usage draining the wells. Whatever it is, we've already got problems with water. It states that a natural diversity inventory has been completed and is attached to the report. We did not see it. Okay, there is no information about impacts on animal species that included in their response. It looks like it's a boilerplate page of statements that do nothing to assess the environmental impacts of this project. So my question is, I don't understand why did they even bother submitting it? It really didn't address anything with any particulars. It doesn't have any quantitative. It's really just as stated, a boilerplate. Why would they even submit it in response to something that you put out as a questionnaire that required so much detail? And this is all they gave. So that's my question for tonight.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. And just your name and address again for the record.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Armstrong, and I live at 4043 Daubert Drive, South Whitehall. The questions that I have tonight have to do with bonds and escrow accounts. During and after construction, there will be many areas in which the township may incur significant expenses that should be covered by Project Atlas. Examples include: 1, multiple full-time on-site inspectors to monitor that all construction activities are completed in full accordance with the permit conditions. 2, damages to bridges and roads from construction vehicle traffic and diesel fuel delivery traffic. Landscaping maintenance. The noise study completed by the applicant relies on that landscaping to mitigate part of the noise. We have landscaping as a noise buffer. So any plant materials that die must be replaced and all landscaping must be maintained. And 4, closure and cleanup of the buildings and property necessitated when the data center bubble bursts or when new technology makes data centers obsolete. I mean, they just sent a missile, a rocket to the moon. And what kind of things will that do to data centers and it's just like we're at the frontier of changes in the way in which we allocate our data centers and make the data happen. And if it's obsolete, There's going to be 5 million square feet of obsolete data, and who's going to take care of that? Okay, so I know the applicant must provide some escrow funds as part of its application. We suggest that these funds cover at a minimum full-time construction inspectors selected by and accountable to the township, a road bond for repairs to damages to bridges and roads. So if one of those big heavy trucks goes over the road and damages it, who's going to pay for it? So there must be some kind of an escrow bond for that. A landscape bond, again, for maintenance and replacement of plant materials. All I have to do is have one of those big trucks run over the hedge, and who's going to fix it? A closure and cleanup bond for future restoration of the site, and a performance bond to ensure that the applicant and their successors operate the site in accordance with all permit conditions. I mean, there's not just going to be a construction permit, but there will be an operation permit. And who's going to pay for that? And that could be a huge, huge burden on South Whitehall Township and its taxpayers. So without its upfront funding, the citizens of South Whitehall Township will be underwriting the cost of this data center for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Any other members of the public? Yes, sir. And just provide your name and address, sir.
I'm Bill Stanley. I live at 2913 Mauchunk Road. And I'm here because of the data center, of course. And it's starting to become a reality to us when I saw the putting a well across the street from my house. And the state of well is maybe 75 yards from my house. And everybody in our area, there's probably 50 to 75 homes that have wells. I don't know what the plans are. If they start draining the wells like it seems like they're going to, who's responsible to give us water? I mean, this is a serious event for our little part of the town up there, our township. When we're out of water, we're out of water. So I hope something is planned before they start sucking the water out of the wells. Because if it's too late, then we have 3 years of waiting with no water. So something has to be built into a contingency plan that something's going to happen, and it's going to be at our expense. And I'm happy with my well, and I think all the people in our neighborhood are happy with their wells. So I don't think we should bear extra costs because they take all our water. It's not really our fault. We're happy where we're at. And the other item I noticed with the road that they're planning that pops out down at the old Trojan entrance, that's maybe 300 yards down from where I live. And that road is going to be like a road to nowhere, because right now, any truck that heads north from Mauchunk Road, all the Whitehall roads have no trucks. So they come up to my intersection, and it's a reverse intersection. So we have tractor trailers driving into our yard, which is not a big deal. They hit the apron. So if this continues the way it is, there's an opportunity to fix this by having them put a new road over to Mechanicsville Road, into the Whitehall area. It's very easy to do. It's just that someone has to recommend that they do it. So there are a couple items that should be addressed ahead of time. And I'm very concerned about the wells. That's something, and I mean, I'm not pleased this is happening, but if it happens, it happens. But let's think about the people in the northern corner. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Your comments are well noted.
President Ruff, if you will allow me, I can address the well issue that he mentioned right now.
Sure. And actually, I'll note, I don't know, Mr. Stanley, if you weren't at the last meeting. At the last meeting, I gave a bit of an overview about what the township's going to do to address the concerns, hold the developer accountable. It's on our YouTube page. I highly recommend you check that out. There were some excellent public comments. And then I gave a pretty detailed summary of how we're going to approach this. So I would recommend that to any member of the public. But Tom, if you'd like to give an overview of the.
Yes. So the township learned today that the well drilling that you witnessed is actually part of a detailed hydrogeologic study that's required by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. So that's part of their on-site wastewater disposal evaluation for the septic system. So that does not constitute any type of monitoring or evaluation from the aquifer testing. This is for water level observation and groundwater sampling analysis in support of the study for the septic system. So this does not contain or is not with the intention of a withdrawal of water, other than what they're exploring under the required hydrogeological study, which I believe was mentioned at some point and under courtesy of the floor a few times in terms of making sure that the septic system is adequately designed. And that's what the applicant is actually working towards, that process as required by DEP. So I just wanted to clarify that the wells you saw are required by DEP and are not involving a withdrawal of water that would impact your well.
Wells are for septics. How far do they have to stay away from my well? Because my well is right there.
Right. So that's a great question, but that well is not part of the actual septic system, right? The septic system, yes, must be isolated from your well, but this is just to get a baseline data.
I understand all that, but if they put a septic system for a 500 square foot building that close to my house, I'd be a little concerned about my well.
Right. So the well location of the drilling isn't necessarily saying that that's where the septic system is going to be.
Saying. Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
And I would say beyond just what the township has had to do, I mean, DEP has a number of considerations that they have to look into and verify on their end.
Yes.
To see if the developer would even be granted the requisite state permits.
Right. So the study requires them to look at the soils evaluation, the system design, and DEP ultimately has purview over the septic system design and approval of said design.
And there was a public comment period for DEP too. Is that?
The public comment period was for the wetlands permit under Chapter 105, which the township did respond to.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other members of the public? Any online, Dave? All right. Thank you all. We certainly welcome your public comments and they will be considered. I'll take it, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 6, minutes. 6A, we have the March 18th, 2026 meeting minutes from the Board of Commissioners that have been presented to the board for their review. Are there any questions or comments from board members on these meeting minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said meeting minutes as presented?
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7, ordinances. We're going to go a little bit out of order here. Items 7A through 7E are all very similar in nature. With some of our ordinance amendments and codes. So unless there's any objection from the board, by request of staff, I'm going to read into the record the titles. They're a little bit long, but I'm going to read the titles of the ordinance into the record. I'll then have our township manager present these as one item. We'll obviously call for board and public comment, and then if no one from the board has an objection, we'll proceed with one motion for all 5 of these items. So for 7A, there's an ordinance reenacting, amending, and restating Chapter 144, Article 4 Building Code of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township in its entirety and adopting the 2021 edition of the International Building Code with local amendments as the Building Code of South Whitehall Township and as part of the Municipal Building Code of South Whitehall Township, a repealer, continuation, and savings clause, severability, and effective date. 7B, there's an ordinance reenacting, amending, and restating Chapter 144, Article 6, the Residential Code of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township in its entirety and adopting the 2021 edition of the International Residential Code with local amendments as part of the Municipal Building Code of South Whitehall Township, providing for a repealer, continuation, and saving clause, severability, and effective date. 7C, an ordinance reenacting, amending, and restating Chapter 144, Article 3, Fire Code of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township in its entirety and adopting the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code with local amendments, providing that state law controls where requirements are in excess of this ordinance and providing for a repealer, continuation, and saving clause, severability clause, and effective date. 7D, an ordinance reenacting, amending, and restating Chapter 144, Article 1, the Plumbing Code of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township in its entirety and adopting the 2021 edition of the International Plumbing Code with local amendments as the Plumbing Code of South Whitehall Township and as part of the Municipal Building Code of South Whitehall Township, providing for an amendment to add a new requirements titled Permit Application and Licensing, providing for a repealer, continuation, and saving clause, severability, and effective date. And finally, 7E, an ordinance reenacting, amending, and restating Chapter 144, Article 8, Property Maintenance Code of the Codified Ordinances of South Whitehall Township in its entirety, and adopting provisions of the 2021 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code with local amendments, providing for the South Whitehall Township Building Code Appeals Board to serve as the Board of Appeals, providing that state law controls where requirements are in excess of this ordinance, and providing for a repealer, continuation, and saving clause, severability, and effective date. And for these 5 items, I'd ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you. So the township is updating its current existing construction codes from the 2018 International Codes Council cycle to the 2021 editions, which are now the law of the land and the current editions, consistent with the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code update cycle. So the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's 2021 code update became effective January 1st, 2026, with application tied to permit timing and project conditions. So in accordance with the provisions of the Uniform Construction Code, projects remain governed by the code in effect at the time of the application, meaning multiple code versions will be in use concurrently during this transition period. And separate from the Uniform Construction Code updates, the township is also updating its existing property maintenance code, the International Property Maintenance Code, which is also published by the International Codes Council from the 2018 edition to the 2021 current edition. So 2021 is current as we sit here in 2026. All right, so summary of key changes. So first, the Chapter 1 provisions, we removed some of the administrative items for enforcement, or clarified them. So eliminates locally carried provisions for administration, penalties, enforcement from ICC Chapter 1, which is not adapted under the UCC. These functions, penalties with stop work orders are already governed by the UCC, and the elimination of this Chapter 1 avoids duplication and potential conflicts. So under this scenario, the building code official of the township as appointed would handle the enforcement in accordance with the Uniform Construction Code. Plumbing licensing reform, it converts annual license renewals into a one-time renewal in 2026 with lifetime licensing, thereby reducing administrative requirements on both contractors and township staff, while providing existing licensees with a mechanism to maintain their license status within South Whitehall Township. Just for a little background, the township did away with new licenses several years ago. So this continues that and builds it into a one-time renewal for lifetime licensing. Other continued and enhanced local amendments include the following. So the ordinances retain, clarify, and/or enhance the specific requirements of the township, including mandatory connection to the public water sewer system within 150 feet, backflow prevention, fire code permitting, structure and operational controls, as well as enhanced property maintenance standards include provisions related to vehicles, drainage, and refuse handling, of which the latter is a significant change in the sense that the time frame in which refuse containers, the toters, can be placed curbside and removed curbside. So the ordinance as submitted before you this evening, the toters would be placed on the curb line no earlier than 4 p.m. the day prior to the day of collection and shall be removed from the curb line no later than 12 hours after the collection by the authorized township collector, which is currently JP Mascaro. So the provisions would preserve the local standards that exceed or supplement the UCC and IPMC where permitted, thereby maintaining consistency with existing township practices and enforcement. And again, there were some administrative updates for the appeal procedures, enforcement authority, and code references, including a clarification that state law governs where more restrictive. So unless there's any questions, I would seek a motion to, as noted by President Roth, to advertise ordinances as listed on the agenda 7A through 7E so that they could be considered for adoption at a later date.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions or comments from members on the board on these agenda items? Are there any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to proceed with the advertising of said building code, residential code, fire code, plumbing code, and property maintenance code ordinance amendments?
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Johns. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8, resolutions. 8A, we have a resolution extending the conditional preliminary final approval granted to a major plan entitled Rue Minor Subdivision 2013-201. And I'd like to ask our Director of Development, Mr. Kent Baird, to please present.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the board's consideration tonight is a request for an extension of time to achieve the conditions of approval for a 4-lot subdivision at 2442 Huckleberry Road, otherwise known as the Rue Minor Subdivision. The request is for additional time to end in 2027, April 16th, 2027. And I think we have someone representing the family tonight.
We do.
Hi.
Hi, I'm John Schwartz,
Hi,
the
John.
attorney
Okay.
for the Rue family, and I know most of you. I see a few new faces, so it's a pleasure to meet you. We are here tonight to request an extension for our time needed to complete the conditions under this plan. While not a huge project, it's complicated in its own way, as many of you who have been on this board have realized of the many years it took to get approval. What I thought I would do is give you a little explanation as to what we have completed this evening, which is a great deal of the easements have been complete or are under review between Attorney Alderfer and myself. I think we still need to get a few things from you, Jennifer, at some point when we wrap up this issue of the security and the final estimates. But the plan changes have been made according to Keystone Consulting Engineers. I think the Rues still have to pay their rec fee or the open space fee. And what's been holding us up has been coming to terms on the actual estimate for the completion of the improvements. So I thought what I would do is introduce Ian Kaufman from Keystone Consulting. That's their department. I don't deal with a lot of the financial and construction aspects. So I thought maybe he could come up and explain, just so you had some idea what we've been up to.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. Ian Kaufman with Keystone Consulting Engineers. So as John stated, after the resolution was completed last April, we began preparing a preliminary cost estimate on behalf of the Rues. That was then submitted to the township, and there was some back and forth with the township engineer and at Pidcock. There was a larger discrepancy between our two numbers than we anticipated. Then there was some back and forth trying to rectify that number. And it was ultimately decided about a month ago that it was probably best to sit down with a contractor, a site contractor, to get what we thought would be an appropriate estimate. So that meeting occurred at our office approximately 1 month ago. We have their cost estimate in hand, and we are looking that over, reviewing it, and then plan on submitting that to the township for their review and continue to work through the estimate side and finally come to an agreed upon number. So that's all I have at this time.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, from my discussions with Mr. Fornwalt, the other engineer on this project, the project was, we had a hard time finding a contractor to give us a bid on this project. It turns out it's too small. Most of the big contractors that do these kind of jobs are working on big jobs. And it was really an interesting task to try to find somebody. And we were digging and digging and digging. And finally, Alan Fornwalt found someone to come out and finally give us a bid. And it was an interesting dilemma, but here we are. But I just wanted the board to know other things are being done on this condition level. We're not sitting back just waiting for the estimate. I know I've been scrambling, doing some things. So that's all we have, unless anybody has any questions.
My only question would be, do you believe by April 16th of 2027 that you may be able to proceed? And then my second isn't a question, it's more of an ask. If you just keep our community development staff informed as you work through this process, that would be greatly appreciated.
I'd be happy to. I really enjoy working with your staff. They're very in tune to what's going on. They are hands-on on every project. Between April and David and some new faces and Jennifer. Yeah. So I'd be delighted to do that and and we'll keep everybody posted along the way. And if the board ever sees a need for us to come back, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Any other board questions before Attorney Swartz sits down? Any questions or comments from staff? Any questions from the public on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution granting a 12-month extension until April 16th, 2027 to a major plan entitled Rue Minor Subdivision?
I'll make a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Johns. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8B, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, authorizing the President of the Board of Commissioners to execute the Lehigh County Regional Traffic Safety Program Grant application, formerly the DUI grant, on its behalf. And I'd like to ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you. So the police department has requested authorization to take on the role as the fiscal administrator for the Lehigh County Police Traffic Safety Grant for the next one-year grant period. So this funding is provided by PennDOT and requires no matching funds on the part of the township. The township has administered this program for a number of years, so we have the mechanism already in place to do so again for another year. So Lehigh County police agencies receive traffic safety grants primarily from PennDOT and the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board to reduce crashes, impaired driving, and speeding. So programs fund DUI checkpoints, aggressive driving patrols, and related equipment. Key initiatives include regional police traffic safety programs and collaborative enforcement. So this is included in the 26 budget as a revenue and expense item, and I believe this would be for the next term starting in 27, correct? Yeah, so it would start in 27, so you would see a corresponding budget in the 27 budget as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board? I will just add, I'd like to thank the officers in our department who are involved in this initiative. I do know that Lehigh County, under the leadership of South Whitehall, some of our sergeants, has one of, if not the most effective DUI checkpoint programs in the Commonwealth. And that certainly is due to all the hard work of the officers across departments across the county who work to effectuate this program and promote public safety on our roads. Any other board comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution authorizing the President of the Board of Commissioners to execute the Lehigh County Regional Traffic Safety Program application on its behalf? A motion from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. Is there a second?
Second. A
second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8C, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township appointing Metropolitan Acoustics LLC as noise consultant for the Township of South Whitehall. And again, I'd like to ask Township Manager Tom Petrucci to please present.
Thank you. So Metropolitan Acoustics LLC has submitted a proposal to provide professional acoustical consulting services to South Whitehall. So from time to time, the township requires specialized expertise related to environmental noise, sound propagation, vibration analysis, and the review of acoustical studies submitted in connection with land development applications and other matters. So Metropolitan Acoustics has experience in these areas and is qualified in the determination of township personnel to provide such services on behalf of the township. So included in the packet was a professional rate schedule as well as their public-facing qualifications package. So the rate schedule establishes the hourly rates and charges for services to be performed as requested by the township, and services would be authorized on an as-needed basis and billed in accordance with that hourly schedule. And it is the recommendation of management that the board appoint Metropolitan Acoustics as the township's noise consultant.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board? Any from members of the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said Sure, Mr. Sussman, if you would please approach, give your name and address.
Greg Sussman, 3010 Victoria Lane. With respect to hiring this acoustic engineer, is one of their mandates going to be to do a full Atlas acoustic study to to counter or qualify the acoustic study submitted by CDE Development?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a time frame as to when you expect that would be completed?
Completed, not exactly, but it would be started immediately upon execution of the proposal.
Is the expectation that it will be completed prior to the end of the current extension?
It would have to be, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I will add, one of the reasons why staff looked into this was to further add to the list of experts and consultants we can rely on when novel issues or novel projects arrive in the township. So it's certainly a benefit in that regard. If there are no other public comments, is there a motion?
Make a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Gwinovsky. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Lastly, we have agenda item 8D, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending resolution number 2016-34 to permit alternative volunteer firefighter incentive program structures and temporary modifications. And again, I'd like to ask our township manager to please present.
Thank you. So the resolution before you this evening amends the township's existing volunteer firefighter incentive program, which was originally established under resolution number 2016-34. So the purpose of this amendment is to provide greater flexibility for fire departments and fire companies to implement alternative incentive structures while maintaining appropriate financial controls and oversight. So to give a summary of the key changes, so it includes the following: a blanket authorization of alternative programs subject to the restrictions set forth in the resolution. So the fire companies could have the ability to implement alternative incentive structures. However, they are subject to board approval. So included in your packet this evening was the points-based system incentive program that Greenwald's Fire Company would like to use, that allocates funds based on participation in various activities, not just emergency calls. For example, training and other administrative tasks are included. Cetronia Fire Company for 26 only would have a modified pay per call structure that includes base rates by membership status, additional compensation for years of service and certifications, and a maximum per call rate of $20. That's included to help their retention, and that is their priority in this amended alternative program. But important to note that this authorization, as set forth in the resolution, would sunset as of December 31st, 2026. So Cetronia would either have to come back with an alternative program that's amended, that would have to be approved by the board. Otherwise, it reverts back to what we had in the 25 fiscal year. Woodlawn and Triclover have not submitted any changes at this time. So they were okay with their current programs, but we'll continue to work with them to determine if there's any other needs. And then that would be presented before the board as a separate approval. So this resolution does have clear fiscal safeguards, including annual program funding caps, quarterly payment cap per firefighter to make sure it stays nominal. So that's $2,250 per quarter. A requirement to remain within approved budgets, and the township authority to withhold or reduce payments if necessary. Also, crucially in this resolution, beginning in 27, the fire companies must submit annual program cost estimates for the township approval as part of the budget development process, and will be incorporated into the annual budget as a separate general ledger line item for each fire company and fire department for incentives. So for example, this year, Greenwald said their annual allocation would be $75,000. That number will have to be revisited for the 27 budget. So the resolution takes care of it for 26, but then we have to come back in 27 as part of the budget approval process to make sure and confirm that number or an amended number as determined by the township and the fire companies.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments from the board? I'll just add, Tom, I want to thank you for working with the fire chiefs on this program. Certainly as their needs change, as their departments change, it's important to give them an appropriate level of flexibility to help recruit and retain their members while also maintaining the fiscal bounds that the township has placed on them. So I'd like to thank you for your work on this and your continued open line of communications with the four chiefs and their teams. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to say, it's been a pleasure to work with the chiefs, and we do have a great working relationship with the chiefs, myself, Director of Operations, Herb Bender, Finance Director, Tricia Dickert, and Assistant Finance Director, Kristen Blahnik. We are able to work through these types of conversations and then present these for your consideration. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other board questions or comments? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution?
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 9, motions. 9A, we have a motion authorizing the release of the pension request for proposal for pension plan administration, investment advisory, actuarial, and custodial services. And as part of the same motion, confirm the Township Pension Committee as the designated review committee responsible for evaluating proposals and making a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. I'd like to ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present again.
Thank you. So the Township has prepared a request for proposals for professional pension services, including pension plan, administration, investment advisory, actuarial, and custodial services for the Township's police and non-uniform pension plans. So this RFP has been reviewed by the Township's pension solicitor, so that's Scott Blissman of the Eckert Siemens law firm. So the purpose of this RFP is to solicit proposals from qualified firms capable of providing institutional quality pension services, ensuring strong fiduciary oversight, regulatory compliance, and long-term financial sustainability of the Township's retirement programs. Given the complexity and importance of these services, it is recommended that the Board of Commissioners authorize the release of this RFP through PENBID and related procurement channels to maximize the response. It's also further recommended that the Township Pension Committee serve as the reviewing body for proposals received in response to this RFP. So the Pension Committee is best positioned to evaluate submissions based on qualifications, technical approach, cost, and compliance with Pennsylvania Commonwealth pension regulations, and to provide a recommendation to the board for final award as applicable. So the motion as drafted would be as follows: to authorize by motion the release of the pension RFP for pension plan administration, investment advisory, actuarial, and custodial services, and then as part of the same motion, confirm the Township Pension Committee as the designated review committee responsible for evaluating proposals and make a recommendation to the board.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board or members of the public? Seeing none, is there a motion authorizing the release of the pension RFP?
Make a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Johns. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Gronowski. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 9B, we have a motion to award a bid. This is rebid number 2026-04, roadway building materials project to New Enterprise Stone and Lime. And I'd like to ask Director of Operations Herb Bender to please present.
Thank you. One bid was received and opened on Thursday, March 26th at 10 a.m. for road building materials. This bid was advertised once in a local publication as required by law. 12 potential bidders received and downloaded the documents. This bid was initially approved for advertisement by the Board of Commissioners at the January 21st, 2026 meeting with a bid opening date of February 26th of 2026. The bid opening resulted in no bids received the first time. The Township staff has advertised and rebid with results documented on the attached bid tabulation. So what we're looking for is a motion to award the new contract to New Enterprise Stone and Lime. Town has compared pricing bids to their most recent, and it is about a 4% increase. With the material we use the most, if you use CoStar's pricing, it is about a 9% increase from what we were currently paying. So we did check the bid prices versus CoStar's pricing, and the bid pricing did come back better.
Thank you, Herb. Are there any questions or comments on this item from members of the board or from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to award a rebid 2026-04, the roadway building materials project to New Enterprise Stone and Lime?
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Johns. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Agenda item 10, correspondence and information items. 10A, we have informational items and vacancies with respect to our boards and commissions. Tom, if you please present.
Thank you. So upcoming meetings and events are available and posted on the Township website. So Friday, April 3rd, Good Friday, the offices are closed at the Township. Monday, April 6th, 7 p.m., Public Safety Commission meeting is canceled. Thursday, April 9th, 7 p.m., Planning Commission is on. That's going to happen. Monday, April 13th, 7 p.m., Parks and Recreation Board. Tuesday, April 14th, 6 p.m. is a Crime Watch meeting. Wednesday, April 15th, 7 p.m. is a Board of Commissioners meeting.
Thank you very much, Tom. Agenda item 12, I would at this time seek a motion to, I skipped one there. We have agenda item 11 first, courtesy of the floor. This is the second of two opportunities for members of the public to offer comment on non-agenda items. Are there any members present here or online who wish to address the board? Seeing none, now I will move on to agenda item 12. I would seek from the board a motion to authorize the payment of our invoices and disbursements.
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Granovsky. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. There is no executive session scheduled for the remainder of this evening. At this time, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.